Hi, I'm going to tell you the truth about Julia Child's roast chicken. I've made roast chicken many times, maybe a dozen or so, but this is the first time that I've tried to make Julia Child's recipe. In her book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking, Julia leads into this recipe by saying, you can always judge the quality of a cook or restaurant by their roast chicken. So I guess you'll be judging the quality of me as a cook. It's also a very approachable dish. It's not one that's overly complex, and you don't need to be a gourmet chef in order to get it right. Julia highlights all those things. Although she also highlights the fact that you need to have a greed for perfection, to hover over the bird, constantly basting it. I thought before going into this, no problem. I can baste a bird. I've done that many times. Once you see how this recipe played out, it's not for the faint of heart. One thing about roast chicken too is that if you look at any recipe on the internet, they almost always underestimate the amount of time that it will actually take to cook the bird. Most recipes say hour and 30 minutes, hour 45 minutes. But most of the time, that assumes that your bird is completely at room temperature, it's ready to cook. One thing that's really cool in Julia's recipe is that she actually provides a table. I had a larger bird, about 5 pounds or so. So I was estimating anywhere between an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 45 minutes. You'll have to wait and see if that was actually the case. So if you do try to make this recipe, don't think it's just your ordinary roast chicken. But with that said, I wanted to see how this recipe, the real French way, the Julia Child's way, whether it stacked up against roast chickens that I've done in the past. Different techniques that I've taken, like for example, putting butter underneath the skin of the bird to really moisten it up. So let's see how Julia's recipe stacks up with other chickens that I've done. You be the judge, and be sure to tell me in the comments what I did wrong. I'm really trying to improve here, and this is my first video trying a Julia recipe. I really enjoy French food, and I'm trying to master more French techniques to apply it to the rest of my cooking. All right, here we go. As you can see, we have a 5.29 pound bird. Estimated roasting time for that size, according to Julia, is 1 hour, 30 to 45 minutes. Start off with a preheated oven at 425 degrees. Wipe down your bird inside and out. Add some salt. We're smearing in 1 tablespoon of melted butter. Another tablespoon of butter goes on the outside of the chicken, but if your bird is as big as mine, you're going to need more than 1 tablespoon. According to Julia, small French chickens are frequently roasted without a stuffing. Well, I like to stuff my birds, so I'm adding lemon here. And I'm nowhere near skilled enough to actually truss the chicken, so I tied mine with a string. She recommended a small sliced carrot and onion at the bottom of a shallow roasting pan. That's really to flavor the sauce we're going to make. So into the oven we go, and then this is for basting here. There's oil and butter. Round 1, fight. So in that small saucepan I have 2 tablespoons melted butter, about the same in cooking oil. And at this initial temperature of 425 degrees, I'm browning it lightly for 15 minutes, turning it to the left side after 5 minutes, and then on its right side after another 5 minutes. For round 3 here, as you just saw, I've lowered the temperature now to 350 degrees. At this point, I'm basting it every 8 to 10 minutes, which as you'll see, got kind of crazy. I've never done this much basting in my life, not even for a Thanksgiving turkey. Halfway through the estimated roasting time, I'm salting the bird, turning it on its other side, still basting. You're even supposed to salt it again at about 15 minutes before the end of its estimated roasting time, but I thought that was a little excessive, so I stayed off the salt. After 7 rounds of this, I'm nowhere near finished. We've got about 30 degrees to go, for some parts of the bird at least. Once the saucepan's done, I'm using the juices from the actual pan to baste. Now one thing I could have done here, which may have been my fatal flaw, admittedly, was not roasting it with the breast side up. Julia even said that 15 minutes before the end of estimated roasting time, salt again and turn the chicken breast up. I failed to do that. But I did keep basting and checking its temperature about every 5 minutes after its estimated roasting time. Alright, it better be ready this time. We're going on about 2 hours here, folks. Still about 8 degrees away. the back. I'm really praying for 165. Alright, I'm still only at... I'm gonna finish this chicken too, Sebastian. Alright, it's done. What we're gonna do now is take some of the fat from the chicken droppings and add it to our sauce, which is butter and chicken stock. Once this sauce is done, you're supposed to pour a spoonful over the chicken itself, and then the rest goes onto the table in a sauce boat. The sauce seemed to be the most French aspect of this preparation. It's really falling away nicely. Well, that was fun. Exhausting. There are three main takeaways here that I have. One, if you have children, make sure you have a babysitter. You seriously need to devote so much attention to this bird for over 2 hours that you won't be able to do anything else. Two, don't even think about trying to cook anything else complicated, whether it's a side, another entree, a fancy dessert. This, although very basic, takes up so much attention between the constant getting down and basting, taking it back, putting it back in the oven. You're getting smacked by the heat of the oven constantly. You saw there were 10 plus rounds of me opening and closing the oven. And honestly, I don't even think that I did everything that Julia had suggested. Flipping the bird, turning the bird. It's just, it was crazy the amount of activity that it took to accomplish this recipe. My wife was simultaneously trying to make a pasta dish for our son, and I almost lost my marriage during the cooking of this roast chicken. But honestly, I can't say that Julia didn't warn me. Julia does say at the very beginning of her book, this is a book for the servantless American cook who can be unconcerned on occasion with budgets, waistlines, time schedules, children's meals, the parent chauffeur den mother syndrome, or in my case, den father, or anything else which might interfere with the enjoyment of producing something wonderful to eat. So yes, great food takes time, it takes attention, passion, love, and care, just as you would care for your child. I gotta say, other chickens that I've made in the past, just as juicy, maybe even more so. I don't think you need to baste it that much. And although I probably made a mistake not cooking it at the very end, breast side up, I don't really think that probably would have made it more juicy at the end of the day, because the breast, the driest meat on the bird, had it been left exposed to all the elements of the oven facing up, it actually, I would think, get even drier, although you tell me. But Julia, although this first recipe of yours was difficult, I will not be deterred. For our next recipe, we have rapi morvindelle, or morvindelle. I don't know how you say it properly in French. I'm trying to learn my French as I learn how to cook it. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Like, comment on everything that I did wrong in this video. I'm trying to learn, as I said. I hope to see you in the next video. And who knows what it'll be? Travel, cooking, a restaurant review. I can guarantee you one thing, it will be an adventure. Cheers. See you soon.